What is creatine? And let's just begin with that one. Like, what is it? Why are we hearing so much about it? What's going on here?
Okay, so creatine is, first of all, it's not a steroid. So a lot of people have this misconception that it's an anabolic steroid and it's just used to make bodybuilders' muscles a little bit bigger and stronger. We actually know that it's a part of an energy system. So we have multiple ways to create this molecule called ATP, or the energy currency in the muscle. And creatine can be taken in a variety of different ways. So you can ingest creatine through food sources. You can take it as a dietary supplement, but also our bodies can synthesize creatine, and it's made up of three amino acids. So amino acids are just the building blocks of protein, but if you put three specific amino acids together, it makes this creatine molecule. You can take it up into different cells, and then essentially it's like stored potential energy, and it supports higher intensity type exercise. So that's the briefing of what creatine is.
Got it. So we ingest foods, certain types of amino acids. I'd love to know which ones, just for curiosity. The body can then synthesize that to create creatine in, I assume, our muscle cells, our brain cells, and then we use that for energy. Is that what I is? Do I have that correct?
Pretty close, yeah. So it's made, first of all, it's made up of arginine, glycine, and methionine, and it involves two enzymes. You can synthesize it in your liver and kidney primarily, but our brains can also synthesize creatine as well, which is, yeah, pretty cool. So we have creatine within our brain, and we can talk about maybe the benefits of creatine on brain health later on. But most of the creatine is actually stored within the muscle. So 95% of the creatine within your body is stored in the muscle, but your muscle can't synthesize its own creatine. So it has to rely on kind of exogenous sources of creatine, but it has a lot of creatine transporters. So anytime creatine's kind of floating by the muscle, it gets sucked up into the muscle quite easily. And so, yeah, if you ingest creatine through those food sources, or through a dietary supplement, or your body synthesizes it, most of it gets taken up into the muscle.
I really appreciate that. That's super helpful. And if we want to, let's say let's say we have low levels of creatine versus like an optimized level of creatine, what are the differences that we might experience in our muscles and our brains and our bodies if that's the case?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, that creatine can be used as an energy source, and it supports high intensity exercise. So anytime you're doing really explosive type activity, let's say lifting weights or trying to run fast or sprinting upstairs, you're going to be utilizing this particular energy system. But this energy system is only good for short durations. We know if you try to sprint really fast, you can only do that for a short period of time. But if you take a creatine supplement, you can make this energy system just a little bit bigger. So on average, it's about a 20% increase. So it might go from, supporting maybe 8 to 10 seconds of exercise to maybe 10 to 12 seconds of high intensity exercise. So it's not having this really profound effect on your body, but it does give you just a little bit bigger capacity for that particular energy system.
So like one extra rep, if you're doing 3 sets of 8 to 12, it's like you might get one extra rep every time. Or if you're doing, like my kids are swimmers, so if they're doing like 25 sprints and that's going to take you 20 seconds, maybe that'll just be like a little bit faster. It's just a little bit more energy for those short, explosive strength power type events.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's not going to have this really profound effect that you're going to feel instantaneously when you take creatine. You're not going to turn into a superhuman, but yeah, it will have this very small effect. So maybe, as you mentioned, maybe you can do one or two more reps per set. And then over time, that can translate into, bigger and stronger muscles. And that's really what the science does support.
Interesting. I had a teenage athlete about 20 years ago, was really struggling for a whole bunch of different reasons. We started her on a creatine protocol a long time ago. It was 4 to 6 grams per day, like very, very small micro dosing basically. And it had a profound impact on her. It really brought her athletics back to life, really. The reason why I'm asking this and telling that story is just because if we are maybe lower in this in creatine, what effect does that have? How would we notice that? And is that something that we might experience, or what would that feel like, and how would that look?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, yeah, you can take a lower dose of creatine, 4 to 6 grams, or most people take about 5 grams per day. It takes a couple weeks to saturate the muscles with creatine, so to get that 20% increase. There was actually a study showing that if you take 20 grams per day, you can saturate the muscles in 5 or 6 days. But you have to separate that 20 grams throughout the day. So you'll take 4 5-gram doses throughout the day, and you can saturate your muscles in essentially a week. Another protocol they showed was just taking 3 grams a day, so even less than what you prescribed. And you can still saturate the muscles. It'll just take a little bit longer. It took 28 days in that particular study. But
Interesting.
yeah, as I mentioned, you get that 20% increase on average of that particular energy system. And yeah, it can be a benefit. So we did a recent systematic review and meta-analysis. So what we do is we find all the studies on a particular topic in the literature. And we were looking at studies that examined creatine combined with resistance training, that looked at changes in muscle size using an ultrasound. So an ultrasound, often you think of like looking at a baby, but you can also put it on your muscle and you can get an idea of your muscle thickness. So you can get an image from the bone to the subcutaneous adipose tissue, and we get an idea of how thick your muscle is. And so, yeah, we looked at all the studies that looked at creatine combined with training on muscle thickness. And what we found was that creatine was an effective supplement to increase muscle size, but the effects were relatively small. So it did increase the muscle thickness, but on average, it was about 1 millimeter increase in muscle thickness. So that worked in elbow flexors, like your biceps, which I always tell my students is the most important muscle in the body. But it also worked on other muscles as well. Your elbow extensors, your triceps, your knee extensors, and your knee flexors. So we looked at all the upper and lower body differences, and it was fairly equal. But yeah, the effect size was definitely pretty small.